Hello. Welcome back to our YouTube channel over here on the Cookie Chat. We're just two basic bakers letting loose and keeping it real. I am Chelsea with Rolling in the Dough AZ.
I'm Melissa with Missy P Sweet. We are so excited to have you guys here for this episode. And don't forget, we also just launched our Patreon. There are 3 different tiers, 3 different levels to get you more content, discounts, and even freebies like what we're talking about today.
Yes. And over here on YouTube, make sure if you have not already, go ahead and like and subscribe. Ring the notification bell so then that way when these videos get posted, you get notified right away. But welcome back to our page. Oh my goodness. What are we going over today, Melissa?
Man, okay, so as I just said, we just launched for purchase, if you would like, the bakery business checklist and the product pricing guide. Now, if you guys have been with us from the beginning, we launched these, I think it was our 2nd episode. And today, I know we got so many requests for everybody finding us on YouTube or joining us later in our journey. They said, we want these handouts that you gave at the beginning. And so we revamped them. We just brought them back to life, and they are now available for purchase. Or if you're a Patreon member, tier 2 and 3, get them for free. So you're welcome.
Look at that.
Yeah,
that's the way to remember.
So this is basically you're starting out your business little nugget episode.
Yes. And it's packed with so much information. I love that we had posted a reel this week about you just take this hobby and turn it into business, and you're like, and what do I do from here? So these guides are definitely going to help you get started. Make sure you are on the right path to success with your cookie or bakery business, whatever that might look like.
That's right.
You.
That's
right.
Right.
How are you? I feel like you guys, we have not filmed.
I know. It's been a minute. I feel like it. How is it already almost April?
Oh my gosh.
I don't understand. And I feel like we were like late to the jump in January. We were like, got through the holidays and we're like, now what?
Well, then Valentine's Day just comes so fast for pre-orders and everything. And then I do love like the lull, but I'm also terrified because I know what's coming.
The monster of May.
And that's where everyone was like posting like, oh my goodness, thank goodness Easter's so far out. I'm like, Easter's so far out, but then it collides right into everything else. So Easter's one of those off holidays for me. I know that's like your dream holiday with the colors.
I do, and I don't even think I'm going to get to do. I'm going to make some cookies that I really want to make, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make a pre-sale happen this year. But that's okay, because that's how my business is changing. So, but it's hard. Changes are hard. Just like, what do you know? If you're a hobby baker going into turning this into a business. You like that transition?
Right. And I wanted to point out something else because you're moving around now and your name's not blocking it. Look how cute you guys. Melissa's on our new merch.
Yay. Okay. These cameras, I cannot figure out.
I know, you guys. They don't mirror. So for everybody who when you like talk on Instagram and you're like this. This is not mirrored.
No, so we have to do our opposite mode. So this is our basic baker logo. You guys have been following on Instagram know, but our basic baker, we've been having so much fun with it. It's the play on, the basic B, but in the bakery world, there's just so many things that we all collaborate on.
Right. Oh my gosh. I know. I love when everyone sends what their term of basic baker is. I'm like, I mean, I'm not even baking, and I already have my coffee right here and my water and my glittered hands, which I'm trying not to use.
I feel very like out of myself, like not a basic baker right now because my hair is down and I'm like full makeup. I am in my cookie room.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still basic bakering it up. If you could see, I have on sweatpants. Like it's party up here and then slippers and sweats down here. Exactly. Keeping it that way.
But we have not just shirts, we've got hoodies and we've got hats. So yeah. Go check them out. They're through the Domestic Cookie. Again, just like we did our Cookie Chat shirts last time. So
and link will be in the description for them. And also, if you sign up on tier 3 for our Patreon, you get 10% off all merch launches for a lifetime of the Cookie Chat. So make sure to check that out.
Yes. Okay, Chelsea. So let's get into these handouts, shall we?
Let's do it, you guys.
All
These
right.
are amazing. So do you want to start first with our bakery checklist?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so there are 9 key things that we've added to this checklist, and we are only going to go over our top 4 right now. And then feel free to download and see the rest and get yourself started.
Yes.
Okay, so our bakery business checklist. Number 1,
Mhm.
it seems really simple and obvious, but you got to pick a name at some sort. And I feel like this is one of the things that people, it either like immediately comes to mind or they struggle with for a really long time in
Mhm.
doing this. Now, you and I kind of similar, kind of not. So, one of the main things I think that you want to think about is, do you include your name or do you not? Missy
Mhm.
P Sweets. You may think that is my name, but
I
actually
love when
it's,
people say that. They're like,
I
"And your
know.
friend Missy?" I'm like,
Yeah,
"Melissa?"
no, it's not. So I have never in my life gone by Missy, but it is a short, like cute, short way to say Melissa. And so I figured that's good. And then my last name does not start with a P. It's actually P is my middle name. Paige is my middle name. And then I did sweets because I wasn't focusing just on cookies. I also did cakes and like drop cookies and things like that. So I wanted it to
Mhm.
be broad so that I had ability to kind of expand or do whatever. So Missy P Sweets is mine. Um, I did not want to have my personal name in it just from a standpoint of that, like, okay, if you ever watch, like, not that I would ever get into this, but American Greed or legal things, it's kind of one of the top things that they talk about in business, like school and things like that, is if your name is tied to an entity, it
Mhm.
can like complicate personal stuff if anything were to ever happen. And additionally, if you want to have the ability to expand like extremely or sell your business one day or something like that, and it's associated with your name, there can be complications with that as well. Chelsea, you do not have your name in yours. How did you decide on yours?
I do not. Also, to dovetail off of what Melissa was just saying, with your name, if you want to be caught up because it's currently going on and there's just so much legal paperwork on it, if you look up Haley Page was that she was a dress designer on Say Yes to the Dress. She sold her brand to a department store that would sell the wedding dresses. However, because her brand was her name, they now have legal right to everything that is Haley Page. So she
Mhm.
can't use a social with her real name. She can't do brand deals under Haley Page. So keep that in mind, but that is currently going on, and there's so much litigation out there about it and paperwork if you wanted to read up on it.
Yeah.
Rolling in the dough, AZ. Literally, I probably was not even thinking about putting my name in it. It's just my husband came up in the very beginning. You know how we're going down these bakery checklists of everything that we need as bakers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Googling because back in the day, there was not Chelsea and Melissa telling you everything you need to
Right?
know.
No cookie chat
And
back then.
no, we just Googled everything. And I was trying to make a list. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need this, I need that. My husband's like, I was rolling out dough, and he's like, you better be rolling in the dough and not rolling out the dough to pay for this. And I was like, oh my God, that is the cutest thing. So, but in doing so, kind of transitioning us to the next step of snag your name, snag your channels, I went to claim that on social media. And in the process of it, I realized somebody had rolling in the dough. It was a business that was no longer being used or social media. That's how I had to put AZ at the end of it in order to get everything. And I did. And this is something, if you run into this, I did email the company asking, hey, if you're no longer in business, I searched their business license had lapsed. If you want to sell me or hand me over your social media, I'll gladly take it. I don't think they have access to it anymore. They haven't heard. But that is our next one, is to snag your channels, your
Mhm.
any of your social media platforms, which we do recommend, even if you're not. For example, Miss Melissa is now on TikTok if you'd like to follow her. And
Yay.
so is the cookie chat.
Yeah, cookie chat is little behind, but we're there.
We are. I have the handle and I appreciate everybody who's following, but I do not use TikTok. But snag them, so no one else does, and then holds it hostage from you. So kind of think of Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram,
And
YouTube.
not even just the standpoint of holding it hostage, but you also don't want somebody using
Using
it
your
and trying and impersonating or like saying that they are you and anything like that. I mean, it's already scary enough, like some of these Instagram accounts that get hacked and stolen.
Oh my
And
gosh, yes.
yeah, those are terrifying. So go ahead and grab all of your handles. Again, even if you're not going to use them. What would be, I personally would say URL, because a website, Instagram and Facebook are probably like the key three things that you will be using when you kick off your business. TikTok is also great. I feel like it's kind of the newer wave of
I would
the
grab
Instagram
TikTok.
craze. But I think Facebook is great from a local standpoint. You're going to hit all of like your neighborhood, and that's how you're really going to kind of like gain momentum with a lot of customers in the beginning. But I would say those are like your key ones. Again, snag all of them, but I think those are your key ones that you're going to be really like diving into and marketing in.
And people always favor one over the other.
Oh,
My
yeah.
business is primarily Instagram, but I do still use Facebook because that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's always good to
I do
have.
too. Mine's just, my Instagram's just linked.
Yeah, I know. It
throw
used
everything
to not
over
be.
there.
Y'all, this is going to date us. Back in the day, you had to separate post to
Yeah.
each. So, no, I love
Yeah.
that they're linked now. And even you
Yeah.
can I think you can link TikTok and Instagram, right? Or no, you
I
still
feel
have
like
to
you can
upload
link
those.
them all. Isn't it? It's like, it's all going to be under Meta eventually.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so rolling into one of my favorite things is graphics and branding. So if you didn't know, I come from an advertising background. I wasn't in the graphic design space back then, but I love all of that stuff and branding, and created all these little like handouts and stuff like that. So when you're thinking logo, here would be a couple of recommendations. It's wonderful to have those beautiful intricate logos, and those can be wonderful to have, and if they fit your brand and if that really vibes with you, don't shy away from it. But here's what I would say: also request, or if you're creating this yourself or however you're going about getting your logo, also do what's called a logo lockup. So if you look at my Instagram, for instance, I have Missy P Sweets. I have a full logo in certain areas. This is probably on my website more than on Instagram. But on Instagram, I have what's called my logo lockup, which is just MP Sweets. So those can be great for the smaller stickers that don't cost as much, or even just on certain areas of your branding, like an Instagram, where you're not going to have the full thing. So I would definitely request both of those things. Additionally, I would also request, if you're doing something with a lot of color, that you request what's called like a grayscale option. Because again, when you go to printing, color can cost a lot more. So if you're needing something just quick and easy and just low key on the cost perspective, then you have your grayscale option available, and that's going to cut down on that a lot. So those would be my two cents on logos and branding. What about you, Chelsea? Anything to add?
I was looking up at mine. I have 3 logos technically on mine, because I have one that's differs just slightly. It's still the same font, same color look for my business cards, just because it's a larger. I would also personally request a watermark for your photos, because I mean, I feel like people are getting away from that now more. Like you used to see it back in the day, more heavily. Now I feel like it's better than ever to have a watermark. So then that way you can always place it in the corners of your photos, and then that way no one's jacking your photos and using them.
That's right. That's right. And one last thing, if you are using any sort of graphic element with your logo, say for instance, a mixer or a certain flower, or I use a whisk and a rolling pin, ask for those elements just on their own as well.
Oh yeah.
Just in case you want to like add them into a social media graphic, or make a little sticker once you get more established and people know that that's part of your symbol, then those are really great, easy, cheap ways to do just a splash of your branding on something.
Or your highlight reel covers, or your highlight covers on Instagram. So
for sure. for sure.
Awesome. Well, moving on down to the next section in our basic baker checklist. Remember, this is only number 4 and there is 9. So if you would like to see all of these wonderful things, go ahead and head over to our website, which the link will be listed below, and you can purchase your version of this. Number 4 is get acquainted with your cottage food law. We get so many DMs between Melissa and I and on the cookie chat of you guys asking questions like, should I do this? Should I do that? We're not trying to ignore them when we give a generic answer, but cottage food laws really vary per state and as well as financial caps, which is something we learned if you go back in our episodes that each state can vary on this. So with your cottage food law, make sure that you are following the guidelines and the rules. It's there for a reason. It's there to protect you. I have become best friends with our cottage food law person here in Arizona because sometimes the wording and verbiage is just left up to interpretation.
Yeah.
And I was paranoid that I wanted to make sure I was doing it correctly. So I called and was like, hey, lady, let's be besties. And just started taking off my questions. And she was so sweet. I was like, I'd rather you guys call. I'm here to answer. This is my job. Like I sit at this desk all day long and
That probably made her day. She's like, somebody wants to talk the thing I know about.
I know. I was like, so I'm so sorry. This is going to be a lot. She's like, oh no, give them to me. And I would say it. And she's like, yes, like she just was sitting there studying the answers of it. So it really helped put things in perspective for me within our state. Some things I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong. She's like, no, you're doing it perfectly fine. So it just gives yourself a peace of mind, but make sure you're constantly checking back on that. Do your guys' change?
They do change. Right when I started, it changed huge. So I would say another way to familiarize yourself with it, and not every state has this, but I'm in Texas. Texas has a Facebook page for Texas cottage food law with the people who are like actively making changes, like going to, they're like going to the court and sitting in these hearings when this stuff
gosh,
happens.
bless these people.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they are extremely knowledgeable. And that has been huge because you can either search, because I swear like every question has been answered in there, or the moment that you post something, you've got at least 20 people helping answer your question. So Facebook can also be a great asset for that if your state has one of those set up. But yeah, they changed it. It was called the cottage food law. And I don't know if this is everywhere, but here it's known as also like the lemonade stand law. And they changed it because literally it was illegal for kids to have a lemonade stand under the cottage food law, because, or like before there was this cottage food law, because you're not, you're not regulated, you don't have licenses. And so
I just got kids pouring sugar and lemons.
Yeah. And so that's how this whole, at least I think the Texas cottage food, that's how everything came to be. And so it really advanced things. So again, there's differences on caps, there's differences on when you have to become a location based, like like a larger brick and mortar. Some states require the people to come out and actually check your kitchen, and some states don't. There's just a ton of things. So definitely get yourself acquainted with it. You are a big business owner now, so you need to know all the laws and the rules.
And they're not as scary. I always thought they were, but I am also clearly in Arizona, which when I called, we have a very lenient cottage food law.
Yeah, y'all don't have a cap, right?
No, we have no financial cap. I was like, so I can run like an entire business out of my house, like
crazy
5 employees. And she was like, yeah, as long as your neighbors don't care, just make sure you stay within city parking. I'm like,
yeah. No, Texas is like, no, we would like fees, please.
Well, Arizona puts like weird, and this is why I asked, is because ours changes seasonally. Meaning like pumpkin rolls you can't do from like this month to this month because it blocks out brick and mortar.
Interesting.
So it's a very weird concept.
Wow.
I know.
So very interesting.
Make sure that you are familiar with your cottage food laws, and we'll be good in the baking world. We just all want to sit here and decorate cookies and not worry about the business.
Kumbaya, guys.
Was like, it's a circle of life over here. We're all coming around.
That's right.
All right,
guys.
well, do you
Again,
wanna
there are
take us?
5 other things on our checklist. So
Yes.
go check it out if you want to see all 5 so you can be successful. Yay.
Do
All
you wanna
right.
move us on into our next one, which is so key in today's world?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Guys, this is about finding the price for your products. I feel like we've talked about pricing in many of our episodes, but we do have, and we will link it up here to our pricing episode that we covered, gosh, almost a year ago. That's crazy.
Ugh.
I know. But guys, like, can't stress this enough. Before you start your business, watch any episode of Shark Tank. What do they say? Know
Know your
your
costs.
numbers. You have to know your numbers, especially in something that is like has such a small margin like cookies. I mean, they range from what, like $3 to $10 a cookie. Like you
Mhm.
got to be sure that you're making money on that, especially with the way that prices on ingredients are going up. I mean, if you did this once before at the beginning, believe me, in the past year, you need to be revisiting it.
Yes. I'm about to
For
read
sure.
you mine next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I would like to see you actively using your handout, Chelsea.
I am. This is how I'm gonna format it, because last time when I had to do it, this was not available, you all.
Yeah. And if you have not downloaded this yet, I would highly suggest pausing us here, downloading it, and you can follow along as I kind of explain how this works. I'm just going to go through a couple of examples with you guys, and then you should have what you need to get yourself going. Feel free to, we have these graphs in here and we have a handout where you can handwrite it, but this is easy enough too to create an Excel on your own if you want to auto-populate some of these formulas. So I'm going to try and boil it down as simply as I can to explain. So the first thing that you need to do is find the price per product for your ingredients, right? So we're going to look at finding out exactly how much it's costing you in ingredients to make one cookie. Okay. I'm going to give out an example of your flour. Say you buy a bag of flour. You need to get your kitchen scale. So it is a little investment. You do need to weigh. That's the only way to get it completely accurate. So you're going to get it and you're going to set it on your scale, your entire bag of flour or sugar, whatever. So I'm setting my flour on there. Say it's 1,500 grams. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bowl. I'm going to zero out my calculator again, set that little bowl on there, and I'm going to measure out exactly how much goes into an entire batch of my dough. Okay. So I'm going to measure that out and I'm going to see how much just that flour for one batch of dough weighs. I'm using random numbers here. Let's say it weighs 300 grams. Okay. Are we following, Chelsea? Are we following?
Yep.
Okay.
I want to know what's over here.
Okay. So now what we have to do is find what percentage of that bag of flour I'm using to make my one batch of dough. So I'm going to take that 300 grams, which is in that little bowl, right? I'm going to divide that by how much the entire bag of flour costs to get my percentage. And when I do that in this particular scenario, it gives me 20%. So I am using 20% of that big bag of flour to make one batch of dough. Okay. Again, these are very random numbers. They're probably very inaccurate to anything that
You
will
lost me at
actually.
grams. If you are in America, we do not use grams. Everywhere else does. I'm like, it's a lot of converting.
Okay, so then we have to find what the price of that is. So we have the percentage of how much of that flour we're using. We need the price of that. So say the bag of flour is $5. All I'm going to do is take 20% of $5. So 0.2 times 5 gives me $1. So that means in my batch of dough, my whole batch of dough, it takes $1 worth of flour, just flour. Okay. So you're going to go through every single ingredient that goes into just your dough at this point. Okay. We're just finding the price for a batch of dough. Go through every single ingredient, and that dollar amount at the end is going to tell you how much that batch of dough cost. Now what we have to get to is what, Chelsea?
We got to break that batch down, y'all,
That's
into the
right.
cookie.
We're trying to get to one little cookie, okay? Just one little measly cookie here, guys. So you're going to take that batch of dough, and this is not going to be every single time. You're trying to get as close as you possibly can without driving yourself absolutely nuts. It's just not going to make sense. But Chelsea, do you generally know how many regular size cookies you can get out of one batch of your dough?
Girl, do I know? That's how I live my life. I look at
Exactly.
boxes and I'm like, this is how long this batch is, or this box of
Exactly.
butter is going to last me.
Exactly. So you're going to want to know roughly how many regular size cookies you can get out of a batch of dough or how many minis you can get out of a batch of dough, because some people do roll their dough a little bit thinner for minis. So you're going to want to do that work to know. In a regular batch of dough, for me, it's roughly like 2 dozen per one. I mean, I make a triple batch, but in just
Your regular batch that
in
you're
one
making.
regular batch for regular cookies, I can get about 2 dozen. That's my rough amount. So what I'm going to do is take that price. Say that the batch of dough cost me $10 to make. Doing those formulas, I'm going to divide the $10 by 24, and that's how much one naked cookie is, right? Uniced naked cookie. So we're a third of the way there. Now what we got to do is find out how much the icing is, right? So you're going to go through the same process of weighing out your ingredients, finding how much it takes to create an entire batch of icing. Now we have to figure out how much icing, like what percentage of icing is going on a cookie. So here's what you're going to do is you're going to take your kitchen scale again, and you're going to take your uniced cookie and you're going to weigh it. Then you're going to flood your cookie. And if you do a lot of like really intense heavy florals, you may want a couple of these. So do like one, just do your flooded cookie, weigh that out, see how many grams the flooded icing is. And then do like an intense floral cookie, weigh it out, see how much. So you're going to figure out how much icing goes on one cookie. Okay. So now we've got our naked cookie price. We've got our icing per cookie price. What's left, Chels?
Packaging.
Everything it takes to get the cookies out
my
the
mind
door.
Is like, yeah. Okay. And I'm going to add in right here because I already know the questions that are coming because this is what came last time.
Yeah.
We do not have a specific way for you to break down your coloring because I know like the little AmeriColor, you're like, well, it takes 3 drops for this. And then if I need intensity, this is, again, we're trying to get ballpark. So you're not going to be like, let's say your cookie is $2 your cost. You're like, well, if I add the color in, then it's like $201.
Right.
You can, if you find a way to get down to the nitty gritty, please let us know. But again, this is just taking the generic part of it. This is not accounting for, like I use 2 pumps of the glitter on it. And how much is that going to be? So there are going to be extra costs that we are aware of, i.e. if you airbrush your stencils, your airbrush color, yes, that is additional. So keep that in mind. But this is when you're trying to get your cost of the cookie.
Right.
This is your bare minimum cost.
Some of those come into play and go back and again, watch the pricing episode, but that comes into play when you are doing a set with a ton of colors. That's going to cost more. If you're doing a set that has really deep saturated colors, it's going to take more coloring. That's going to add more. And these are things, and Chelsea is phenomenal at this, but that's one of those things where you look at where your expenses lie at the end of a year and you can say, how much did I spend on airbrush coloring and gel coloring? And then you can break that down. Okay, how many sets did I do? How many colors did I do? Or I'm sorry, not how many sets, but how many cookies did I do last year? And if you want to get really, really nitty gritty about it, then break that out and add that to your cost. But it'll take you a little bit of time to like see how all that can play out. And in the meantime, I would just like add a few cents in there per cookie to cover that.
And it gets easier the longer you do this and the more you know how often you're going through things. Like I bulk supplied, and for 22, I'm not buying cookie cutters yet. I'm still there. I made it through the first 3 months.
I saw you buy something new.
I bought bags, tipless piping bags. I needed those, and then I needed white frosting, and then I got our scribe. Hey, we have scribes, by the way.
We sure do. We should have called that out.
Yeah, we'll post a little picture of them here, but we have
Yes.
scribes
Oh,
named
yes.
after us.
Editing.
Yeah.
Editing.
Yes.
Yes. We'll post a picture and we will post the link to them in the show notes.
Yeah, no, I bought those, but things like that, going back, is like my airbrush colors. Now I've gotten 6 years in. I'm like, I don't need to buy this. I'm getting creative and I'm trying to use what I have to get through the products. So do keep that in mind, though. I feel like we all bulk buy and then we're like, oh, what am I going to do? So it is part of it, but leading back into it, yes, we have the cost of sending these darling cookies out the door in a beautiful presentation of your bags, your heat sealer, your boxes. If you use shred, if you use shred is like gold right now. If you use shred, you're rich.
Yeah.
Tissue paper, all of those little things.
Yeah.
So if you
all
have
that
a pack
stuff.
of tissue,
and so you're going to go through that same process. You're going to look at, okay, how much am I getting in whatever that package is that I'm buying? So in this, we have icing bags. Honestly, icing bags, probably similar to how the gel colors work, because it depends on how many colors you use and what you're like, if you're doing florals, it's a different consistency than, but just for this instance. So say 100 icing bags come in your package, right? And say you use 6 of them per that set. You're going to do the same thing. 6 divided by 100, you're using 60 or 6%.
I was like,
6% of that product.
Hope you're not using 60% on one set. We got to cut back somewhere.
You're doing it wrong. Okay, so you're using 6% of that product to do it, and say it costs you $5 for those bags. It's 3 cents per thing. So you're going to take your naked cookie price plus your icing per cookie plus your packaging per cookie. That's going to get you your bottom line. And then again, like we said, if you're just starting out, add in like 50 cents or so to cover you. I mean, 50 cents is a lot per cookie.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Maybe like 5-10 cents. I don't know. Per cookie.
10 cents is pretty safe.
Yeah. To cover just any of those little extras along the way. And then pay yourself.
This is how much it costs just for the ingredient part of it. The rest of it is your time that you're being paid for at this point.
And it's things like utilities and ovens and all of that stuff too. So, but this, if you are looking at that and you're not at least doubling, then you need to give yourself a raise.
This world is just crazy with pricing. I'm telling you.
It is.
So,
it is.
And you might have to redo this as inflammation. Oh my God, inflation. Can you tell I've been reading my health books? Inflation goes up and down because, again, if you did this when we first launched the cookie chat with us, that is not your pricing, or I'm sorry, your hard cost any longer. So this is something you kind of have to revisit. But like Melissa said, it's not every batch you're doing, you're changing. However, if you do have different flavors, you will need to do this for each of those flavors because they all vary in ingredients.
For sure.
So that is something to try and keep in mind. And
that's right.
If you can get this done before May Madness, we do not celebrate March Madness here. We celebrate May Madness.
Yeah.
Then you will be on the right path for all of these wonderful holidays coming.
That's right. And again, guys, tier 2 and tier 3 get these handouts for free in our Patreon. We would love to have you there. It's not just free handouts. We are working to up our content for everybody there even more. So go ahead and join us on Patreon. Hit your, what all is it here? Subscribe. Bell.
your subscribe, ring the bell for notifications because it will notify you anytime that we post a video or we even go live on YouTube.
What?
So that could be coming.
That would be crazy.
You guys spend the evening with us, but these are so helpful. We have more coming.
That's right.
But we wanted to get these in your hands. The world is changing. Our pricing is changing. Raises are happening. pay yourself, treat yourself.
Treat yourself. And yeah, you guys comment down below of more things you would want handouts on.
Yeah.
Is it email templates? Is it, I don't know, calendars to help like communicate with your customers? What is it that you guys want? We are happy to take all those into consideration and bring you guys things that are helpful for you being successful in your business.
That's why we're here.
That's what we are about.
We're just two basic bakers, you know. Da-da-da.
Ba-ba-da-ba. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. We can't wait to see you back on the next episode.
I'm Chelsea with Rolling in the Dough AZ.
I'm Melissa with Missy P Sweets. May your cakes never be dry.
And your icing be shiny and crater free. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Bye, y'all.